Have you ever bought your kids that kinetic sand? It's like foam, little tiny balls, and you can squish it and mold it, and they can shape it, they can play with it, and it's supposed to be cleaner and better than Play-Doh because, Play-Doh sticks to carpet and couches and clothes. So that kinetic sand or moon sand, whatever it's called, um, is really fun to play with. And I think it's been, a good source of entertainment for my kids. Maybe you like it too. Well, something that came up one day, my husband had found a clump of that left out on the floor or at the table or something. And he took that clump of moon sand, kinetic sand, and put it in my shoe. And so the next time I went to put my shoe on, I was like, what is in my shoe? And I pull out this ball of kinetic sand. And I thought that was really funny. So I laughed about that. And so then I took it and I put it inside of a shirt. And so then the next time he pulled that shirt out, there's that lump of like that foam ball stuff. And so then he put it somewhere else and I put it somewhere else. And it went on for quite a while. I don't remember how long or whatever happened to it in the end, but we had several weeks or months where this ball of this clump of kinetic sand was showing up in random places. And it was something we could laugh about. And it was something that we weren't necessarily together for, but we could leave a little surprise for each other and just have a laugh and like, oh, he got me again. And now where am I gonna hide it this time? And so that was just a fun thing that we had going for a while. And in our 23 years of marriage, we've definitely had times where we needed humor to restore and repair our relationship. Same thing as a parent. As a mom, my name is Michelle Cox, and I'm a life coach. I'm also mother of 6 kids, and they span over 14 years. So I've got an 8-year-old boy, I've got all the way up to a 22-year-old college student, and so very different phases of life. And I've seen how over the years, humor can do so much good to break the ice that might be forming in a relationship and help to melt it and restore kind of a feeling of connection and coziness. And I think when I'm trying to describe humor, I think of just there's a warmth, there's a connection, there's a like a relaxed state and an openness to each other. And I found that when my kids are teenagers, it helps a lot when I'm watching my tone that I'm using and add a little bit of a spring to it, add a little bit of a silliness to it. And not all the time, but pretty often. And so it's pretty common for one of my kids to come home and walk in the door. I'm like, hey, so and so, how are you? Just kind of be a little bit funny that way. And when I need to maybe offer a little bit of correction with one of my kids or some direction, like they've got a job to do and I know they're not going to be excited about it, the way I can ask the question, the way I can communicate the need or the concern, I can also use that tone like a little playful tone, like, oh, guess what? Today's your turn to clean the toilet. I'm so grateful. I know that I can rely on you. And thank you so much. Just a little bit of a like, a little ring to it. And I think it helps them to kind of stay maybe less likely to get triggered. When I have kind of a playful tone and I just kind of joke around with them. And the reason why this can work is because our brain is always looking for danger. Our brain is designed to detect and discern when something is a threat to us. And a threat could be as simple as it's going to be unpleasant, like cleaning a toilet, not very fun. And so their brain could say, oh, that's a threat to me because it's not going to be pleasant. It's going to expend energy and it's not going to allow me to have pleasure while I'm cleaning. So, like, playing video games and eating candy brings a lot of pleasure. Cleaning a toilet, not so much for most children or teenagers. And, as adults, we might be like, oh, it's so nice to get the toilet clean. It's just refreshing and I feel I can breathe. It's clean and sanitary and I don't have to worry about diseases. Dysentery in my home. I don't know if that's the right disease, but Typhus, typhoid. So typhoid Mary, that was all about like poor hygiene, right? So I could feel some satisfaction. I could feel relief as the caretaker of the home, as the adult in charge. Well, co-adult, right, with my spouse. And so cleaning toilet actually is kind of nice. Like, oh, it's clean. Good. I don't have to worry about it being dirty. But for our kids, chores are not normally going to be something that they're super looking forward to. And so their brain is going to pick up on that as a threat and send a signal to their body that they're in danger of some kind, right? It's not like really life threatening, but the brain and the body don't really detect the difference between a mild discomfort, like this is just going to take 10 minutes of my time to clean the bathroom, and then I can go back to doing the fun activity I had. Our brain doesn't really determine and discern very well. It just kind of goes into fight, flight, or freeze. And so we get to learn how to manage ourselves and to be a little more rational and say this is actually a small inconvenience, a small trigger, a small threat. And I can handle it. I can be resilient. I can see the good in it, that it's good to have a clean house. But for children, as their brain is still underdeveloped, they're not as easily able to do that. Everything is a threat, then it's a big threat. And you might see that when your child has to leave the park or a birthday party and they're just having a major meltdown because their brain is like, this is the worst thing ever. I have to stop having fun. I have to stop eating cake. I have to stop running around like a maniac. And so there's going to be some sort of rupture in our relationship with our kids when we're making requests. We're setting limits. We're saying the end of the fun has come and now we have to leave, or now it's time to take care of a house job. They're not going to be so thrilled. So we see in the brain and in the nervous system these three typical responses, right? Let me scoot back a little bit. So we've got fight, flight, and freeze. The nervous system states the nervous system is just responding biologically, impulsively, instinctively to what is going on around the body and the brain. So to be told to do chores, a child might go into fight mode and they complain and they stomp and they whine and they roll their eyes and try to pass it over to a sibling that it's their turn to do it, and why hasn't she done it, or why hasn't he had a job. you know they're always looking for that. Or they might try to avoid you and run and hide under the bed, or just mentally pretend like you're not there and mentally pretend like they didn't hear you. And so we see that a lot in our relationships. And as they say in the parent-child relationship, we can be about 30% of the time like things are going fine. Things are kind of smooth. We're just moving along. We're coexisting and habitating in our environment, and everything's fine. But about 70% of the time, we are going to have ruptures. The child is going to be upset about something that you are setting a limit about. Or you're going to feel frustrated by their mess, or they're crying, or they're fighting, or that they ignored you, or they didn't come home on time, or whatever it might be. So there are many, many, many times throughout the day that we can feel frustrated by our child. We can be upset or annoyed, and we need to make a repair. Because if we leave that wound open, then it can grow and spill into other parts of your life and expand to an overall gloomy or stormy or volatile relationship. So where does humor come into this? When we try to incorporate humor, and I'm going to tell you there's going to be some guidelines here and some limitation to how we use humor. But the idea is that if we can have humor used in a proper way, we can help to turn off these responses and help the body and the brain to be at peace and go back to a state of safety and resilience. Because when our nervous system feels safe, we're able to think and reason. We're able to analyze and look at things and put them in perspective and say, okay, it's not that big of a deal to take care of this task. Or, yeah, mom and dad are asking me to stop running around and screaming and punching people. I can do that. it's better that I don't do that. So it takes time for children to be able to put that in. So humor used in the right way, at the right time, in the right dosage, can help to relieve some of that stress. It can help to kind of burst some of the tension in the room, and it can help to bring back connection and safety and restore some of that hum and that rhythm and that peace and stability in your home that you would love to have. So that's why I try to do that just on a regular basis with just my tone of voice, being a little playful, having a little playfulness to it, having a kind of a playful greeting when my kids come home or I see them in the morning. And I notice that they respond that way. And I had a friend once, she noticed, she was kind of laughing that my teenage son, who's like way taller than I am, he's a giant to me, had come home or come into the room where we were. And I just said, "Hey, so and so." And he's like, "Hey, mom," in a playful way. And she just laughed and laughed because we kind of said it in the same type of voice, same tone. And she just thought that was hilarious that I did it and then he mimicked it. He did it right back. And and it's just how it's been for years. And now he's in his 20s and we still have that kind of playful relationship because it was established earlier on, which makes it easier when I do need to say like, "Hey, you're visiting, but could you still do the dishes? Could you help with cleaning the house while you're here on break?" And so that helps us to have kind of an openness, and the channel of communication is more stable and more sturdy. Now, why I want to talk about limits in humor is because sometimes I will notice this with my children, and maybe you do with yours, where one child is upset about something and they're really pouty and grouchy and moody, and another child thinks they're going to help the situation and help them to kind of come back from this grumpiness and relax and be okay again by being really obnoxious and doing things that push their buttons even more, or it's just super silly and in their face, and they just are like, "Go away, stop doing that and making weird faces." And they're like, "I'm just trying to get you to laugh." But it wasn't the right time and it wasn't the right dosage. So when we're evaluating where somebody is, if they're feeling, if they're, their nervous system is in fight or flight. In fight mode, they're going to be abrasive and aggressive and claws are out. Someone who's in flight mode is going to be, really like physically or like mentally, emotionally trying to have distance and be separated. And so if they're really kind of deeply in these states, that probably isn't the best time to go full on super silly and like trying to be hilarious in your mind. You think what you're doing is hilarious. And I think that what can help better is to do something kind first. So offer them something. "Oh, can I get you a drink of water? Can I make you a sandwich? How was your day?" Building some sort of connection and building some zone of safety that they can feel that you care about them. And maybe that can be better to prime the pump before using humor and playfulness as a way to, finally kind of break that ice the rest of the way. So timing and dosage do matter a lot because it's just not the right time. And you know it. You felt it. You've experienced that. When someone's trying to be funny, you're like, "It's not funny." Especially at your expense. So if someone else is trying to tell a story about you, an embarrassing moment in a group setting, and they're retelling or recalling a story, an embarrassing moment you had, it's probably not the right time. In front of a group of people, it depends on who's there, right? So if it's your family and it's a story that kind of comes up and you even tell it, you even share it, that might be okay, right? But if it's a story that doesn't feel as comfortable in front of maybe a mixed audience of non-family members, and or maybe being put more publicly on social media, including pictures. And I've just seen some reels like that where someone has done something they think is funny, but really it humiliates someone. And now it's a reel on Facebook and Instagram for millions to see. And you can't take it back. So we have to be so, so careful about how we use humor. Is it actually helping them to laugh about something, or do they feel laughed at? Is the humor at their expense, or is it something that can be shared and actually bring you together and then have a positive experience that brings everybody back together, kind of breaks down the barriers or and heal the wounds that were kind of coming about. So timing and the dosage. So again, like I suggested, maybe you'd want to start if you have had a rift in a relationship with one of your kids or a partner or spouse. It might be the best thing to do. Start out by doing something kind. Then, when that's kind of helped to kind of create a balm, a soothing effect, then it might be time to try to tell a joke, to try to get them to laugh, to do something a little bit silly or goofy. Leave that moon sand in their shoe. Play like a harmless prank. We don't want to go to extremes of like really causing some damage or some embarrassment. But as a mom of teenage boys, I was really looking for ways to bring humor into our relationship and help to relieve some of the stress that I was causing because I was getting uptight. I was getting kind of controlling, like worried about grades and worried about their future and are they gonna, graduate this year or next year or get the job or the degree or the school or whatever. I could get really stressed out doing it to myself, which then would affect our relationship because they could feel my stress, feel my tension, and also hear me nagging. We don't want to do that. And so, some ways that I wanted to try to repair the relationship when I realized that I was going too far and putting too much pressure and too stressful, I wanted to backtrack and focus more on the quality of our relationship. And so I did things like they were all at their friend's house, and I had three teenage boys at a time. At one point, they were my older three, and they were at a friend's house. And so I took my younger son and some rolls of saran wrap, and we wrapped the car and wrapped the car and the doors shut and everything with saran wrap. And so when they came out later, they're like, "Oh, our car got saran wrapped." And then another time, I would like on their last day of a job, the last day at work, then I would fill the car with balloons and then write on the windows and with window markers and all over the car and just put messages all over. And it was just fun to do things like that. I know another time my son had ordered some new shoes and the box came in while he was at school. So I cut open the bottom and I pulled out the box and I put my daughter, at the time she was really young, like 2 years old. So I put her little pink 2-year-old shoes in the box and then taped it back up so he didn't know. When he opened the box, he was like, "What?" Okay, you're making progress when they start to prank you back. And not in mean ways, but like playful ways. And they got me good several times by taping the veggie sprayer on at the kitchen sink, taping it with like scotch tape so it's clear and I couldn't tell. So when I turned on the water, the veggie sprayer was activated and I got squirted right in the face. They did that a few times until I started to like look, make sure it's not taped. But that's the kind of humor we want to have that's going both ways. It's not overboard, it's not extreme, it's not at someone's expense for making them humiliated or embarrassed or feel ashamed, but they're just ways to bring together and to have fun and to laugh a little bit and and then create some memories, right? And that's such a powerful way, just simple, that you can help restore and repair a relationship. So I really want to encourage you all, think about how you can bring humor in appropriate ways, in healthy doses into your relationship. Use a lighter tone, a more playful tone with your kids when it's time to put on pajamas. Make it a game. It's time to put on pajamas. Do some silly song and get them to get on the train, and you're going to lead them around the house and get to the bathroom to brush their teeth. There's so many ways that you can make everyday moments have a little humor. and have a little fun and have a little playfulness added to them. And it helps to bring that closeness. So have fun with that. Share in the comments what are things that you do to bring humor into your relationships, and I want to hear some better ideas because I need to keep going with this. So I'd love to hear what you do to build that humor and have that incorporated, and let me know. So my name is Michelle Cox. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to having you join me next week on Let's Talk. And you can find further episodes on my YouTube channel at michellecox.mindset. And please follow me on Facebook, Michelle Cox hyphen mindset coach, and find out when I have events coming up and other Facebook lives. And I'd love to hear from you what you'd like to talk about in the Let's Talk podcast, and what are some issues and challenges that you're facing that you would love to hear some ideas and some guidance from the perspective of the nervous system and how we can become more resilient and have more joyful relationships and experiences in our lives. Okay? It's in you. I believe in you. Get to know your body and your brain and know how to better regulate. And follow me for more. And I'll see you soon on Let's Talk. It's Tim's last day at Chick-fil-A before he goes to college. Time to prank his car. Here we go.